Welcome back. In this video, we're going to read and discuss some AITAs. I've got Reddit pulled up. Let's just hop right into it. AITA for telling my friend his girlfriend can't stay at my house anymore, even though I told him she's always welcome. My 23 male friend, Tyler, 25 male, has a girlfriend, Megan, 24, female. Me and Megan live in the same state, while Tyler lives 2 hours away from us. Megan and Tyler have been dating for around 6 months, but we've all known each other for our whole lives. I was never close to Megan like Tyler was growing up. She was just an acquaintance to me, and I rarely ever saw her out of school. Megan lives with her mom and her sister. From what I'm told, Megan and her mother get into arguments frequently. During these arguments, Megan's mom kicks her out, causing her to stay in a hotel for some nights until they get back on good terms. When Tyler told me how bad a certain fight got and how Megan was put out for a week, I told him that she can always stay over at mine. I have a 3-bedroom apartment and I live by myself. Now here's the problem. Megan is a very hard person to share a space with. She leaves her underwear and bras around my house. She's constantly asking me for things that I've told her about. She goes into my personal items like my work laptop and my regular one, and from what my neighbors say, when I'm not home, she blasts music in my house. I had a conversation with her about 3 times, and she told me she would stop, but the same stuff continues. Last night, her sister, 23 female, Carly, had told me some things about Megan, and one of them being that Megan doesn't get into fights with their mom, and she's always staying at someone's house for days at a time to get free food and mooch off of them. I told Tyler this and that she couldn't be over at my house anymore, and he shrugged the screenshots off and told me that I was being a dick for using a lame-ass excuse to kick his girlfriend out. I'm gonna go with NTA. It's like when someone's put into a position where they're able to help someone, and you're like, by all means, come on in anytime you need help. That's not the same thing as saying, come on and take advantage of me, do whatever, make a mad. Like, that's not the same thing. So frankly, even if the sister was legitimately getting kicked out of the house and had nowhere to stay, if you're not being an appropriate guest, that's on you. You know what I mean? It's like I'm offering you a place to stay, but you have to be an appropriate guest. And if you're not, then you have put yourself in the position of having nowhere to stay. But here's the caveat at the end. It turns out that, like, she probably, come to find out, she doesn't actually even get kicked out. She just sort of chooses to leave. And I can kind of relate with this a bit. When I was in high school, me and my mom got in a huge fight, and it was something along, I can't quote it now, but it was something along the lines of, like, if you're gonna do that, you're not gonna live in my house. You know what I mean? And my teenage emotional upset brain took that as, I've been kicked out, like, I'm not allowed to live in this house anymore. You know what I mean? And that's not what was said. She said, if you do that, you know what I mean? And it was so I was like acting like the victim and all upset at that time, where it was like, oh, she kicked me out, I have nowhere to go. But like, she gave me options, and I chose I'm going to do that thing and have to leave from here. You know what I mean? And in hindsight, that wasn't really fair or honest of me to go around telling the people I was staying with that I was kicked out. And I did finally come to that realization. Me and my mom, like, had a talk and was like, I don't know, apparently my emotions calmed down or something. I don't know. But, you know, we had a talk, and she was like, girl, I never kicked you out. I told you, you're welcome to stay here, but you just have to follow my rules to do that. You know what I mean? And I'm kind of wondering if it's like a similar situation where it's something like that. It's kind of said, is where it's like, if you're going to live under my house, you're going to live under my rules kind of thing. And she takes that as, oh, I'm kicked out because I absolutely refuse to live by the rules. So by default, I have no option. But it's like, but you kind of do have options. You can choose to live by that rule. Now, I don't know if that's exactly the situation, but it kind of seems like that, right? So I'm going to go with a resounding NTA on this one. Frankly, even if you made that statement and now your life situation has changed, or the person that's coming over is like taking advantage, like this, I would say that's taking advantage of the offer, you know? Situations change. If the situation changed and she's no longer welcome, that's absolutely appropriate. I don't think you're an a-hole. That's your home. You pay for it. She don't pay for it, right? So, you know what I mean? And especially given that you, like, had 3 separate sit-down talks with her, you say you sat with her 3 times and tried to discuss it, but, like, you have far more patience than I, mister, because that bitch would have been gone. I'm gonna... I clicked out of there. Let me go back in because I wanted to go down to the comments and just kind of get the general NTA. All right, just curious whether the mooching allegation is true or not. Not respecting your hospitality at home by being a difficult guest, leaving items around, blasting music. The offer for Megan to stay is rescinded. Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. NTA, let her move in with Tyler. Sounds like Megan is the problem, not her home. Honestly, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like back when I was in high school, it's like no one's claiming my growing up life was perfect or anything, but at that time, I was the problem. You know what I mean? It wasn't my mom. My mom was like actually trying to just set some rules and like get a proper situation where a teenager is under control and is set up. You know what I mean? Yeah, everybody's just saying like, dude, if you offer someone something and they take advantage of it, you're absolutely right to rescind the offer. And I completely agree. So let's move on to another one. WIBTA, would I be? WIBTA, if I continue to stretch my ears after my boyfriend expressed how much he hates it. I, 30 female, have been with my boyfriend, 30 male, for just shy of a decade. Ooh, okay, that's a little complication there. You've been a long time. He's very clean cut and very professional in appearance. I, on the other hand, have a sleeve of tattoos, dyed hair, pierced ears. He works from home as a lead programmer for a company while I work as a manager at pet groomer. Despite our opposite looks and career choices, we have a lot of interest and opinions in common. If anything, I think our differences help balance us out. Sure. Some background that may help add context to our relationship. I started getting tattoos before we met, but my biggest piece was done 2 years ago. He's not a big fan of tattoos and has absolutely no plan to ever get any. It's not a big deal for me, so after he said no, I just left it. He wasn't a fan of my big piece, but because I've had ink done before, he voiced some concerns about the amount of money I've spent, but left it at that. Fast forward to this past month. I've always liked the jewelry that people with stretched ears get to wear. Some of it looks really pretty and cool, and I, on a whim, decided to stretch my current ear piercings. With the help and advice of a friend, I got a kit and have been working on stretching with the goal of being about a 2 or a 0 max. When I first told him about this, he voiced that he really did not like how they looked and he did not want me stretching to the point where I could look through my ear or fit a pencil. I told him not to worry and that I'd stop before I got to the general accepted point of no return. Today I was moving from 10 to 8 and he was watching me moisturize and sanitize my jewelry and ears. Once again, he asked how big I was going, and I showed him what 2 looks like. He gave me an unpleasant look and explained that he again really hated how gauges and stretched ears looked. He further went on to explain that stretched ears were not my aesthetic, as it was more punk, where I fit into streetwear or gal style. He doesn't like how they look and doesn't think I'll look good with them. I was disheartened. I took out my jewelry, packed them up, and put them away to maybe be discarded. I'm now sitting here debating whether I should continue stretching because it's something I want for myself, or if I should honor his wishes and stop. I already pushed my luck with how many tattoos and how big they are, so I should give up on this one thing. I don't want him to think I'm unattractive, so I don't want to change myself past what he's willing to accept. But I also don't want him to tell me what to do with my body. So, would I be TA if I continued stretching my ears after my boyfriend expressed how much he hates it? Wow, that one is like honestly very gray area to me. I thought that he was gonna be kind of an a-hole about it in the way that he was expressing or the way that he was telling you, and that it was gonna be kind of clear-cut, like do what you want if he's gonna act that way, but he's being like really respectful about it. He's being polite and respectful and just being honest about what he finds attractive. And I don't know how women about today are going to feel like that, but I do feel like it's important to remain attractive to your partner. Now, obviously that's not more important than having things in common and having shared goals and all that, but that is a part of it, is to remain attractive for your partner. Oh, goodness. I'm having a hard time coming to a decision on this. Do you know where you're at on this one? Let me know down below, because I'm like on the fence here. Like, would she be an a-hole if she went ahead and continued stretching her ears? You know, I guess it just, no. I'm going to go with the NTA. You would not be an a-hole if you decided to do that. I think it's just necessary that you're upfront with the man that, like, hey, look, this is important enough to me that I am going to go ahead with it, and realize that it might, like, lead to the end of, or at least some issues in your relationship. That's really interesting. It's like so gray area, because she was already looking like this when he got with her, right? I think it adds an extra level of complexity. It's not like you got with one thing and now it's changing into something else completely. And I feel like that makes it like a little more valid to be like, bro, like, you're not what I signed up for, right? But at the same time, like, she already had this very alt style of getting tattoos and doing all these things when he met her. So I feel like he gets even a little less wiggle room on this, just because, like, bro, that's what it was when you took it on. You know what I mean? And I know it's like grow it, but it was like, if it's already in that direction, you can't kind of act shocked if it keeps going in that direction. You know what I mean? I don't know. Let me go down to the comments, because I'm feeling like I'm a little bit more on the NTA side, but also it's like, girl, you need to just do some serious reflecting. Like, is you and your personality and you show it, like, is that important enough to you to, like, damage this relationship? Either way is like, doesn't make you an a-hole, whatever, but it's just like, what you need to decide if it's important enough to you, I guess. Let me go down to the end. I think this is the top comment for a reason. NTA. But honestly, no matter how hard you try, oil and water just don't mix. And I think that kind of sums it up really well, doesn't it? It's just like, he's not wrong for finding what he finds attractive, and politely voicing that to his partner. Not wrong at all. And she's not wrong at all to find something attractive and want to do that to herself. You know what I mean? It's just like, my advice for anybody is that you have to just be yourself and hope for the best. If you pretend to be something you're not to please somebody else, you'll grow resentment towards them. Yeah. NTA, you can continue to stretch if you want, despite knowing your boyfriend isn't keen, but your boyfriend can then react as he finds appropriate. If he's truly put off by them, then he might end up considering breaking up with you. Why did you ask his opinion if you weren't going to be considerate of it? And she replies, it's not that I really asked for his opinion. I only brought it up to him for the first time to let him know that I was doing it, kind of thing. This commenter quoted the part where she says, I don't want him to think I'm unattractive, so I don't want to change past what he's willing to accept, but I also don't want him to tell me what to do with my body. And this commenter says, NTA, you can have freedom, but you can't have license. Your boyfriend has given you his opinion. You are still free to do whatever you want. With freedom, you can make choices, factoring in how they will affect other people, deciding your priorities, then accepting the consequences, good and bad. You don't get to have license, where you can do whatever you want without having to think of how your choices and actions affect anyone else. Again, I think the comments are kind of just like mirroring what I had said, where it's just like, you would not be an a-hole at all to continue on and altering your body whatever way you want, making it look however you want. You would not be an a-hole. The boyfriend would also not be an a-hole to discontinue the relationship if you are pushing past what he finds attractive or acceptable. You know what I mean? So I feel like nobody's this person quoted, our differences really help balance us out, and questioned, really? Because it doesn't look like it's balancing to me. I'll go against this grain and say it's important to consider how your actions affect your partner and your relationship. YTA, if you expect your relationship not to be changed by it. And yeah, I think, again, that's like kind of the general consensus here is like, do what you want. But he's free to do that too. Let's move on to another one. AITA for ruining a toddler's brunch. How would you even ruin a toddler's lunch? I feel like that would be hard. Genuinely conflicted on this. So let me have it if I was in the wrong. So my husband and I both had a rare weekend off and decided to go out for brunch to spend some quality time together. The cafe was pretty crowded and our table was next to a woman and a toddler. I think the little girl was her niece rather than her daughter based on a phone conversation she had, but I'm not sure. The toddler had an iPad or tablet with the volume turned up really high. And guys, I don't know what she was watching, some kind of game demo or kids show, but the noises were really annoying. Lots of aggressive beepings and bangings. It was so loud, my partner and I were struggling to have conversation. My decision's made up already. YTA. We'll continue reading though. What annoyed me was the woman was just sitting there playing on her phone and completely ignoring the toddler. I know they have short attention spans, etc., and sometimes you need help behaving in restaurants, but she wasn't even trying to engage with or entertain the little girl. Anyways, the food comes, and again, the woman ignores the toddler, who starts throwing her food around. Eventually, some egg flies off her spoon and lands on me. Oh, the more I read, the more this is cementing my already made-up mind. The woman does then come over with a napkin and apologizes. I tell her it's fine, kids will be kids, but while I have her there, I ask her if she could turn the volume down on the iPad. The woman seems really annoyed by this and says, well, she'll scream if I do. I'm going to throw up with anger right now. I tell her I'm not asking her to turn it off, just down, but she is still very huffy. She pointedly asks for the rest of her food to go while packing up, telling the little girl, we've got to go, it's ruined now. At first, I was sure I was in the right. She made no attempt to play with the toddler without the screen, even to help her eat once the food arrived, and I saw no reason why the volume had to be at 100%. But now I'm pregnant and was chatting to my sister, also mom to a toddler, about eating out with kids, etc., and told her this story. She said, I was an a-hole because I made the woman feel unwelcome in a public place, and asked how I'd feel if it was me. Now I'm confused, genuinely unsure what the etiquette of other people's kids should be, and want to know what's reasonable, etc., etc. So Reddit, AITA. Edit to add. Thank you to everyone for comments. I was feeling a bit unsettled and guilty. Maybe it's hormones, but now I feel better. By that last edit, I'm assuming everyone thinks she's YTA, but here's the thing is, and I've said before, it's like, I'm not a parent, so you can take anything I say about parenting with 0 grains of salt or whatever, but honestly, here's the thing though, is I'm an adult who interacts with children out in public. I am a former child, and therefore, you don't have to be a parent to speak on parent issues when they affect non-parents, right? If I am as a non-parent and speaking on how your child is behaving only because it is directly affecting me in a public space, now that I do feel that's acceptable for a non-parent to start speaking up about how someone is parenting, with the understanding that they don't have all the information either. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying I understand it completely and therefore I'm going to speak on it, but I'm saying I just don't like this whole blanket of, oh, you can't speak on it if you're not a parent, because I still experience children and should be able to experience a public place with a child in it in a calm, respectable way. I have a extreme anger towards iPad children. I think it's completely absurd and ridiculous. I think parents are letting emotions run rampant, and so therefore that's rubbing off on children. I think that our attention spans have gone to shit. I think that parents really need to put the hammer down a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, we think back to, I ate in many restaurants with my parents growing up as a small child and never had an iPad to do so, and pretty much always behaved appropriately. You know what I mean? It's like, parents today, they act like, oh, there's no other option. How could you possibly have a child in a restaurant without an iPad? I don't know. How did we do it all for like decades and decades before? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm saying the stupidest shit right now. Like, maybe you as a parent can fill me in, but it's just like, how were we able to, what suddenly changed that all of a sudden kids can't sit in a restaurant for 45 minutes? You know what I mean? And here's what it is marketing got so freaking effective that it told us that we have to have everything immediately now. And that attitude is rubbing off on our kids. We don't have patience. We see it in driving. We see it in the amount of debt people have. We see it in, relationships ending the second anything. It's like people just don't have patience anymore. Our social media definitely is not helping with that. If my TikTok doesn't load in half a second, I'm annoyed because I want it now, right now, when I expect it. And I think we have to be like really careful of that. I think it's important that, especially like if we're going to spend so much time on social media and be accustomed to things happening immediately right now, it's important to spend some time purposefully working on things that you have to, like, just balance it out, basically. You know what I mean? If you're going to do something that's not as good for your, like, practicing on your patience, then just make sure you do something else that is good for it. You know what I mean? Like, do a craft that takes specifically a long time, or whatever. Like, set a longer term goal that you've got to work towards and wait for the ending of. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to kind of balance that out, and I just don't think people are spending enough time and focus on balancing it out. We get so caught up in convenience and wanting it now. I'm gonna scroll down because if I didn't say, I am a resounding YTA. Like, I clearly made up my mind the second an iPad was mentioned, and I'm not saying that if you have an iPad, you're a bad parent, but I'm just saying it's like the whole meal or whatever. I don't know, whatever, and especially in this described situation where it's not like, oh, I just need like a 30-minute break. Like, I've been engaging, and maybe this is a situation, and I try not to judge iPad kids too harshly because maybe this is a situation where you have been engaging with your child literally all day. Maybe you're even a stay-at-home mom and you have literally been engaging all day with that kid, and now this is your 30-minute break, and so the kid is on an iPad. I personally have no issue with that. But if I see it's like this, where it's like not even the mom, so it's like you're not even typically you're not even on a break, you know what I mean? And you still can't even pay an ounce of attention to the kid. Like, I understand parents needing a break, but like, frankly, the break can't be long. It can't be like, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting off point now. Let's go down to the comments and see. I'm pretty sure everybody's going to be an NTA, and kids can be inconvenient, but if they are not your kids, they shouldn't be your inconvenience. Agreed. Again, absolutely agreed. Absolutely agreed. I think that anybody can speak on how a child is being raised if the way that child is being raised is directly affecting you. And if I'm sitting in a restaurant and there's bang, bang, beep, 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 right behind me, like, that's now affecting me. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to work out for me. It's unacceptable to harass people with loud toys or running toddlers. A very good cafe here close to the kid area because of that. Toddlers can live without iPods in cafes, but you will have to keep them entertained, like reading a book with them. It takes effort and parenting, and this woman did neither. Again, I'm saying, it's like, I try to be not too harsh with my judgment on that when I look over and I see a parent, a kid with an iPad, because again, I understand that they can be used correctly. They can be used as like a short-term form of entertainment. They can be educational. They can be helpful. They can be a short break when a parent actually needs it. But it's just so easy to go too far with it and start relying on it. And I do see parents just absolutely relying on them way too much. Let's move on before I put my foot any further into my mouth. Okay, whoa. AITA for telling my wife it's her fault that our sons now hate and ignore their sister. Harsh. Let's see if that was actually needed to be said. My wife, 39 female, and I, 44 female, have 3 children. 2 boys, 15, 14, and a girl, 12. While my wife is a great mom to all her kids, she always had a special bond with our daughter. I wouldn't frame it as a classic favoritism, but it was a little bit more attention and love. The boys were always aware of this and teased their mom with it jokingly, but it was never a problem because she really is a great mom to them too. A few weeks ago, my 14-year-old, let's call him Jim, and our daughter, Anna, had a big fight and a screaming match. It turned out that Anna took Jim's AirPods to her dance class, forgot them there, and tried to lie about it. My wife intervened and apparently took Anna's side. I wasn't there, so I don't know. My older son, Alex, intervened on behalf of his brother and told his mom that she is unfair. My wife doubled down and told them to fuck off. Again, no idea personally what was said. That's just what's being relayed to him. And that Anna is more important. My boys swear that she said Anna is more important to them, while she swears that she said that Anna is more important than a pair of AirPods. Alex exploded and called his mom a bad word, took his brother, and left. My wife called them for hours, but they didn't answer. In the end, she called me, and I picked up the boys. The relationship between our boys and their sister has been dead after this. They don't talk to her, ignore her when she approaches them, and won't tolerate her presence. When she enters a room, they leave. It's heartbreaking to watch. My wife tried to mend things and talk to them, but she gets aggressively ignored too. Yesterday, my wife had a breakdown and started to cry after we went to bed and said that home life has been hell for the last couple of weeks. I had a little sympathy and told her to suck it up because it's her fault. She called me an a-hole and cried even more. AITA, I know I'm technically in the right here, but my wife is already devastated and remorseful. It is my job now to help her mend the relationship between the girls and the boys in our home. Another edit. Anna had to buy her brother a new pair of iPods. We gave her the money that was supposed to be for her birthday. She will get nothing for her birthday in April. Edit 2. My wife will go to therapy with the boys ASAP. The boys agreed to this. My daughter and I will join if the therapist wants it. Okay, I'm going to just stop you right there at the end of your own. At the end. It says right here, it's like, oh, she's always been a great mom to her kid. She always had a special, but, you know, it wasn't favoritism. The boys were always aware of it, and they teased jokingly. It wasn't a problem. It was a problem. It was always a problem. Sorry to break it to you. Like, sorry to be the one to fill you in, but, like, it's always been a problem. The boys didn't just go from 0 to 100. They didn't just go from, like, oh, everything's fine. I feel equally as loved and great. Oh, my iPads are gone. I freaking hate you. You know, it's like, come on. Be a little bit really, like, this slow. The boys have always seen this then. And it does sound like you're even saying, like, you're right. So you know that she favorites this kid. Don't BS us sitting here in the first part. Oh, he doesn't favoritism, and then explain all the favoritism. For one, like, I'm sorry to break it. I'm not saying you're bullshit, but, like, sorry to break it to you. She's always been seeing favoritism, and the boys have always noticed that. And it just never really, like, came to a head. You know what I mean? It just wasn't enough of a problem to maybe address or anything, but it's always kind of been looming in the background, it seems like. I don't know here, okay? I feel like I'm gonna be... Oh, it's literally marked as most people say that they think that this is not being an a-hole. Honestly, I kind of think you're being an a-hole. I do. I think that it's important for a spouse to be, like, emotionally intelligent when it comes to their spouse and understanding how to speak to them. And, like, when is an appropriate time for logic and when they're maybe too emotional to accept that or whatever. It's like, I do not think that you are wrong in your opinion. But the way and the timing that you tell someone something can really affect whether you're an a-hole for saying it or not. You know what I mean? You don't have to be wrong to be an a-hole for saying it. And what I'm saying is very gray area, because sometimes it's very situational. Sometimes, even if someone's, like, super emotional, you just gotta hit them with the hard fact. But other times, when someone's super emotional, a little bit of comfort and understanding to calm them would get them to a place where then they can receive the logic that you want to tell them. Right? It seems like if she's in bed crying to you, that just wasn't the appropriate time to bring the logic. You need to bring the logic. I'm not saying, oh, you're so right, honey. Well, no. I'm not saying, like, coddle and like, encourage or anything. But it could have been like a, you know, I see you're upset. Like, let me comfort you through that. Okay, are you, like, feeling a little bit better now? Now let me give you some reality. You know what I mean? I just think, like, if she's literally crying in bed, it's not the time to be like, well, you're wrong. But maybe it is. It kind of depends on the woman, but it's like, clearly it seems like that was not the right call in that moment. And I'm not necessarily even saying that he's an a-hole for saying it. I think it's more like, I wouldn't say you're an a-hole, but I would just give my 2 cents on it, like, you probably could have put that message across a little bit better. And I already saw that everyone down here is at NTA. NTA, but you need to follow up that hard truth with action. By the end of the day, what your sons heard was that your wife cares more about Anna than them, affirming what they had already felt. And she did absolutely defend Anna when she was lying. Anna wasn't punished for losing an expensive item she stole from her brother, and your wife hadn't apologized for being wrong about that. So if your wife wants to make this right, she can't just cry, she needs to do something. And so do you. First, if the AirPod story is true, she needs to apologize, and the AirPods need to be replaced, and Anna needs to be punished. We already got the edit for that. That did in fact happen. Your wife then needs to apologize for taking Anna's side. Okay, apparently the poster took this response to heart, because according to the edits, they literally did have her replace them and start getting therapy. So, Classic favoritism is classic favoritism. Again, everyone's kind of calling him out on that fact. It's like, you're trying to say that it's never really been a problem and that it's not favoritism, but it clearly is. I wasn't there, so I don't know. So this is how you deal with a big family problem. You weren't there, so you don't know anything. Your wife needs to apologize. Anna needs to be punished, and your boys need to be working on forgiving. You need to work on becoming an involved parent instead of just sitting by idly and taking the stance that since you weren't there, you can't do anything. I don't think that's fair to say. I don't think that he's taking the stance that since I wasn't there, I can't do anything. He's trying to figure out exactly what happened in his absence and do something about it. But he just has to acknowledge that he doesn't know exactly, quote, what was said and when. That's not fair. But yeah, everybody's pretty much at an NTA. And you know what? I think we'll probably wrap up the video there. I got some stuff I got to get on to today. Thank you so much for joining me, though. If you like that video, don't forget to hit the little thumbs up down below. Subscribe while you're hanging out down there. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.